It's ridiculous, it's over the top, and it's also a whole lot of fun. Today we're talking about Kobolds Ate My Baby. And I know that title, I'm like, I don't think it's going to be a game that I like. I can promise you it is amazing. In fact, this might be the best ultralight TTRPG that I have tried to date. It took us less than 2 hours for my group to get started, make characters, and play what felt like a full 4-hour session. And it was a blast. If you're thinking about getting this book for yourself or for a friend, I hate to spoil it for you, but I highly recommend it. Okay, so that's high praise. What specifically do I think made this game so much fun, and what sets it apart from the rest? Well, I'll just start off here with flavor. This book is absolutely packed with flavor. Even if you're going to homebrew, or rather, especially if you're going to homebrew, having specific flavor in a book is so nice, and it gives you a good place to start. And if you don't have flavor and you have rules light system, it's kind of like, what do you have? So this game starts with an introduction to what these little chaos balls, little balls of fluff that are kobolds, how delicious they taste, their breeding habits, all kinds of stuff. And then how it'll probably end for you is giving a little soliloquy at the end of your short life about your kobold, what they've accomplished, what they've done, and what they're leaving behind. So a ton of fun, ton of flavor crammed into the rules and into the book itself. The book is also entertaining and fun to read, which is really a nice twist compared to most TTRPG books. Maybe not most, but a lot of them out there, right? You either want like something deep, story-driven, pulling you in. This one is just light and entertaining the entire way through. Lots of pop culture references. Just to give you a couple examples of some like funny things that were in there, there is various churches to the god Vor, right? Vor is the god of the kobolds, and so there's the Vorthodox, the Ultra-Vorthodox, the Revormists, the Severed Day Adverus, and the Vorthrin. So on and so on. And there's a ton of jokes like that, ton of funny things in here that just make this book interesting and fun to read. The rules are simple, but they're also fun and have meaningful options for character creation, or you can just roll randomly if you'd like. Speaking of character classes, there are so many classes, again, all distinct, all simple, and most importantly, all fun. Whether you want to play as a pirate, a bard, a rules lawyer, a luchador, there are 36 classes to choose from, each one of them having their own special ability, and it feels like you're making a meaningful but easy to choose choice. Pick the one that sounds the most fun. It's really that easy. You don't really need to overthink it or anything else like that. But your class will have a unique ability that makes things really fun for you. But really what it comes down to with all of these simple rules is several things that will happen because of them. At least they did with our group. Everyone had a ton of fun and got to participate and have their moment to shine. Our Dungeon Meister, they got to have a chance to change several D6s to where the person was rolling a D20, and this was for damage, which actually caused our Cowpoke to ram into the local barkeeper for 41 points of damage. Now, he only had 3 HP, or 3 hearts, and so he was instantly disintegrated. And then he continued Kool-Aiding Man through the rest of the inn. And then, of course, our mad scientist had already set that inn on fire using his Cyclopean glasses. Not that kind of Cyclops, this kind of Cyclops. And he did that using the power of science. All while our veterinarian made sure all the livestock was set free so that they wouldn't be harmed by the fire. These kobolds are also adorable merchandising opportunities, and if you want, you can get one of the little plushies. They have them available for sale at 9th Level Games, or 9thlevel.com, I'm sorry. Seriously, the artwork, though, is great in this book. It's a 10 out of 10. I love it. It's funny, it's hilarious, it's cute, everything about it. I really do want one of those little kobolds to set on the shelf behind me. The book is well organized for reading, and it has also handy reference tables at the back of the book. So it's really nice if you're playing, everybody can have a book, or you can share, a couple of them. It's just nice to have. It's nice to have those reference things. The book is only $20, by the way. This may seem like a minor thing to have, kind of that organization and have the extra tables printed and reprinted, the dictionary or the Kobold dictionary, as I think they called it. But I can assure you that it is not. There are also plenty of tables as well for random kobolds, for encounters, for kobold horrible deaths, and things like that. So if you're trying to generate a dungeon, or if you're just trying to play randomly, I've been jamming for a very long time, and I was with our core group, and so it wasn't a problem for me. I came with a whole scenario that the party did great at, and I picked something that was much more difficult than, your average party. But if you just want to use these tables, have everybody roll and what have you, it's not going to be a problem. Again, for $20, it's amazing. It would be a great gift for a friend, and some of the great places to play this would be at cons, would be while traveling, any situation where like you can't break out a whole thing. Like you could play around a table at an airport if you wanted 1 and 2 with this and still have a ton of fun. Now, I usually try to steer people away from how-to guides in my review guides. I don't like to combine those two, but since these rules are so light, and because I do think they're so important and so much of a core feature of the system, I want to break it down for you real quick. These won't be everything. This will just be a decent amount. So first off, almost for everything, you're just rolling 1d6. That's about it. Sometimes you roll 2d6, maybe you add them together, maybe you take the best one, but you're almost always rolling a d6 and checking the resolver page, which again is handily referenced. It's in the book, but then they re-reference it towards the end so you can easily find it for reference on like the last page. There is also advantage and disadvantage in this game. There are also exploding dice. If you're not familiar with what exploding dice are, this is something that comes from a lot of like quote unquote Ameritrash, like war games or what have you. If you roll usually the highest number, a 6 in this case, on your d6, you can then roll another one. The dice explodes and you get to roll another one. And this is actually how that funny moment that was created earlier where our player got to do 41 points of damage to a guy who'd only had 3 HP. He rolled a d6 at the same time that I think it was a dungeon meister was saying, hey, I want to give him, I want to change his die. That's what the thing that a dungeon meister can do. I want him to roll a d20. I was like, he was rolling. Turns out he rolled a 6. So the dice exploded. So I was like, okay, well, he can roll a d20 for his next one. He rolled a 20. So that exploded. So we get to roll another d20 and rolled like a 15. So a ton of damage and just a lot of fun with the exploding dice. Spells are cast, another cool thing, by crumpling up a piece of paper and literally throwing it. And that's how you actually cast spells. So again, we were playing digitally. We couldn't really do that, but it was still a lot of fun. And instead, our mad scientist was yelling with the power of science instead whenever he was casting spells and what have you, which is also his special ability. Players always roll either actively or they roll to save. So the GM is basically never rolling anything. This is really, really nice, especially for new GMs where you don't have to do anything. The players are always rolling. You're always giving them something to do, and then they have to do it while you're thinking about, oh my God, what's going to happen next? So it's a really nice feature. The other thing is the classes all offer one exception or kind of change to the rules or something else. That is the one thing that really makes the class. And then you also maybe get some gear or something else. Some of it's flavor, some of it's actually really cool. It just kind of depends what you get. There are also victory points and you can PvP. So if you want to keep score or murder your friends, you absolutely can in Kobolds. We chose not to do most of those things. Now, having said all this, are there things that I don't like? I mean, absolutely. For starters, I don't really love the crass jokes. That's just not my sense of humor. It's just not it for me. Probably the only real complaint I have is that the primary roles for eat, feat, beat, and meat, if I'm getting those correct, I thought they were going to be new and easy ways to remember how and what to roll, especially when you read eat and you're like, anything you do with your head is eat roll. So if you're actually eating something, but if you're also thinking or maybe trying to convince somebody talking or what have you, you roll an eat roll. And I read that and I was like, oh, this is going to be really cool. There's going to be, it's going to be the same. And then when I read about, feet and beat, and it turns out that really it's not about a theme and it being easily organized. It's more about them just rhyming, which I'll be honest, I was fairly disappointed in. It's still really fun. Still, this is not a reason not to play this game. Other things that, I didn't like as much is one thing is I would say less is more. There are simply too many jokes, I felt like, in the book, and pop culture references, tongue-in-cheek lines, puns, double negatives, subverted expectations, and what have you. And I know that sounds like, those things are great, but it was to the point that where the book became a chore to read, and even annoying at times, honestly. The first time I've had this feeling, I was like, am I just like hungry or tired or something like that? And it's like, no, trying to read through the whole thing, I actually had this feeling a couple of times. Basically, what it comes down to is cognitive fatigue. It's like trying to read the word red when it's spelled out in blue letters. I'll just give you like an example from the book. So, I'm not just being crazy or pedantic. Whenever your kobold, this is a quote from the book, whenever your kobold wants a thing to not happen to them, that's called a save. So dodging attacks, resisting telemarketing pitches, surviving a fall, failing to be hypnotized, right? Those all make sense. And then the next line is not catching fire. So this is like a double negative where you're like not catching fire. Kobolds want to catch fire. Okay, it's kind of a funny joke. But after there's already something else in there where like telemarketing, pitches, which is kind of funny, but doesn't really make sense. It just becomes exhausting to read after a bit. And you're like, wait, what is it saying? What's going on here? Am I understanding this rule right? I just want it to be a little bit more clear. Sure, you can still tell jokes, but it was a little too much for me. The other thing is many flavoring choices might not be for you. Some examples of things that we had, I mean, the whole eating babies joke, right? Like I'm not keen on that. I thought it was just the title and it was eye-catching. I didn't know it was going to continue throughout the, a lot of the book. We decided an in-lore reason that, King Torg, all hail King Torg, had decreed that no baby should be eaten. So that's how we got around that. We didn't want to deal with it. It just didn't seem fun to us. The other thing is, as I said, if you say the name of the Kobolds King, everybody at the table must then say all hail King Torg. Death is a core part of the game. And they actually joke and kind of say in the book that, hey, if you're not dying, you're kind of not doing this right. I mean, I like that. In digital games, whenever I'm raid leading in various MMOs, I always joke that, hey, if you're not dying, you're not trying, right? You're not trying something hard enough if you're not failing sometimes. You might not like it though. One of our players didn't like that at all. She made this cute little kobold character. She was a veterinarian. She even got like a cute little animal and she didn't want them to die. And so, that might be an issue for you because kobolds are kind of born to die. So those are just kind of some flavoring things that you might not like or you might love and you might think that's great. Now with all those complaints, pedantic and otherwise, I do really love this game and I highly recommend it. And I do not think any of those reasons, even though there are things that maybe I really don't like, I would still buy this book. I think this is a great book and it's just a ton of fun to play. This game is just the perfect game in so many situations, whether you're introducing someone to our TTRPGs, whether you're doing a one-off when your normal GM needs a break, if you're at a con, if you're on vacation, if you have some other travel situation, it would make also a great gift for a friend, whether it's like a funny joke gift or whether someone who's into TTRPGs and you're not sure what to get them. Kobolds Ate My Baby is just an amazing product and I highly recommend it. I would also super excited to check out other games by 9th Level Games because they have quite a few that are all light, rules light games, traditional fantasy, not just silly and what have you. So I promise to review some of those other games here on the channel in the near future. And once I have, I'll actually pop them up on the screen here. Anyways, thanks everybody for watching. Go check out Kobolds Ate My Baby. It's a great game and we'll catch you in the next one. Oh, and all hail King Torg!